above the European theater of World War II. Attention, unlike any other, gripped the highest echelons of Allied command. And in the heart of the Pentagon's most secure rooms, where only the most trusted aides were ever permitted, stacks of documents lay concealed in steel vaults, coded and encrypted, detailing an operation so secret that even most generals and field commanders had only rumors, whispers and partial briefings, a mission ordered by Supreme Commander Dwight D. Eisenhower himself, whose hand trembled slightly not from fear but from the weight of responsibility, aware that if this mission were exposed, it could alter not only the course of the war, but the entire post-war geopolitical balance. For hidden in these files were instructions, objectives, target lists, and contingencies that no living soul had seen for over 7 decades. And as the viewer is drawn into the first minute, the camera pans across storm-swept landscapes of Europe, bombed-out cities, rivers swollen with winter melt, and forests scarred by artillery, while archival maps flicker on screen with coordinates highlighted in red ink, obscure symbols that defied common intelligence practice, and annotations in Eisenhower's precise handwriting indicating locations, dates, and coded objectives with a clarity that is chilling yet cryptic, hinting at a plan whose very existence had been denied by official histories. And the suspense begins to tighten as the narrative reveals the operation's true stakes, not a simple military engagement, but a calculated maneuver involving sabotage, infiltration, and covert coordination with agents embedded behind enemy lines. Agents whose identities were erased from all records, and whose survival depended entirely on timing, secrecy, and the ability to vanish into the shadows of occupied Europe. And as the script unfolds, viewers are pulled into the intricate web of intelligence, logistics, and human drama, with Eisenhower's handwritten orders contrasted against frantic telegrams intercepted from the Axis powers, illustrating the razor-edge balance between success and catastrophic failure. While in the background, we see scenes of bombers assembling at dawn, paratroopers gathering in frozen fields, and code clerks feverishly working by candlelight, all underscoring the immense coordination required for what had been intended to remain hidden from the world. A plan so audacious that its discovery decades later would send shockwaves through historical scholarship, government archives, and public understanding. As diversions, decoy operations, and misinformation campaigns were all deployed to mask the true objective. And in the cockpit of reconnaissance planes, pilots who had no knowledge of the broader mission flew over enemy territory, snapping photographs of targets that seemed ordinary but were in fact part of a grander, secret chessboard only Eisenhower and a handful of aides fully understood. And as the operation's timing approached, tension escalated within Allied headquarters, commanders pacing in hushed corridors, messengers delivering sealed envelopes by hand, radios transmitting messages encrypted in multi-layer codes that would take months to decrypt. And the narrative draws viewers into the high stakes, psychological pressure felt by leaders whose decisions could cost thousands of lives or alter the entire European campaign. Every second imbued with suspense, every detail foreshadowing a revelation that would remain hidden until now. And the historical context unfolds from Eisenhower's strategic calculations to Roosevelt's diplomatic pressures, Churchill's insistence on public-facing victories, and the pervasive fear that if word leaked to the Axis, the consequences would be immediate and devastating. Yet the mission's audacity, secrecy, and eventual execution reveal the extraordinary lengths to which Allied leadership went to protect not only national security, but also the fragile balance of wartime morale. And as we dive into the coded documents now declassified, each page unfolds like a thriller, revealing contingency plans, risk assessments, and encrypted communications with spies and operatives whose names were struck from history, demonstrating the staggering complexity and human cost of a single mission that Eisenhower himself had attempted to hide from the world, a mission whose public exposure today promises revelations so shocking that they reshape our understanding of strategy, courage, and deception in the final years of the Second World War, drawing the viewer into a fully immersive experience from the very first minute, blending historical fact, dramatic suspense, and cinematic tension, ensuring engagement that compels the audience to remain riveted as the story unravels layer by layer, revealing not only the operation itself, but also the extraordinary orchestration behind the scenes, the hidden maneuvers, and the extraordinary human decisions that turn secrecy into survival. And as the camera lingers over the archival images of Eisenhower in conference rooms, maps spread before him, pens tracing invisible lines between objectives and outcomes. The narrative hook tightens further, promising that what follows will expose secrets that remained buried for 70 years. Secrets that historians, military analysts, and even world leaders were unaware of. Secrets that, when fully revealed, will shock, enthrall, and leave the audience in awe of the intricate, dangerous, and astonishing truth behind the mission Eisenhower tried to hide before the mission could even begin. A level of planning and preparation was initiated that surpassed any previous Allied operation, stretching across multiple nations, agencies, and clandestine networks. Each element shrouded in secrecy so tight that only a handful of officers and operatives knew the full scope of what was about to unfold. And in the dimly lit rooms of intelligence headquarters, officers pored over maps that were updated daily with enemy movements, supply lines, and hidden fortifications, while analysts meticulously cross-referenced intercepted communications, deciphered coded telegrams, and reconstructed the layouts of German command centers with near-obsessive precision. For every error, every miscalculation could compromise the mission and cost countless lives. Yet the audacity of the operation demanded risks that few had ever contemplated. And as the narrative pulls the viewer deeper into the story, we witness a flurry of human activity designed to obscure the true purpose of the mission. Operatives disguised as civilians planting false intelligence, decoy shipments leaving port cities, sabotage teams disabling secondary targets to mislead enemy reconnaissance, while the central objective remained obscured behind layers of disinformation, so that even field commanders and air crews would be unaware of the full scope, trusting only the coded briefings that, when finally revealed, would read like an intricate tapestry of espionage, military strategy, and psychological warfare. And as the operation advanced, the logistical challenges became staggering. From securing fuel for covert aircraft to arranging rendezvous points deep in occupied territories, all while avoiding detection from ever-vigilant German intelligence, whose own counterintelligence units were constantly seeking anomalies, suspicious movements, and unusual radio transmissions, any one of which could unravel the operation entirely. Yet the Allied command pressed forward, coordinating with resistance networks embedded across France, Belgium, and the Netherlands, using local contacts to arrange safe houses, secret supply caches, and extraction routes, often relying on intuition, luck, and the courage of civilians risking their lives alongside trained operatives. And in the shadowed alleys of occupied cities, spies exchanged whispered messages, couriered small, critical packages containing blueprints, microfilm, and encrypted instructions, while German patrols moved just streets away, unaware that the very information they were seeking was already being funneled into Allied hands, creating a high-stakes cat-and-mouse game that added layers of tension and suspense as every delivery, every rendezvous, every coded instruction could mean the difference between operational success and catastrophic failure. And simultaneously, back in the command centers, Eisenhower and his most trusted aides monitored progress with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety, analyzing the readiness of parachute teams, the synchronization of air support, and the reliability of ground operatives who would carry out the most delicate and dangerous phases of the mission, their faces etched with concentration as they weighed the smallest variable against the potential cost of exposure, understanding that the fate of not only the mission but entire divisions, civilian populations, and the broader war effort rested on decisions made in these tense, clandestine hours while outside the safe houses and intelligence outposts. The terrain itself posed dangers: frozen rivers, dense forests, bombed-out roads, and patrolled checkpoints all threatened to betray the operatives, demanding extraordinary physical endurance, mental resilience, and the capacity to improvise under extreme pressure. And as the mission date approached, rehearsals were conducted in remote fields and abandoned factories, where parachute teams practiced night jumps, sabotage units rehearsed demolition sequences, and reconnaissance pilots flew repeated circuits to perfect timing and approach. Every maneuver scrutinized, every detail calculated to the smallest fraction of a second. And yet, even with the meticulous planning, a sense of imminent danger pervaded every preparation. For the intelligence suggested that the enemy was aware of unusual activity in the region, and German patrols had intensified, intercepting supply convoys, questioning locals, and executing counterintelligence sweeps, creating a palpable tension that infused every training session, briefing, and coded communication. And the narrative immerses the viewer into this extraordinary level of preparation, showing the human faces behind the operation, officers marking maps with trembling hands, operators listening intently to static-filled frequencies for vital clues, and couriers navigating moonlit forests with the weight of critical documents strapped to their bodies. Each step, a high-stakes gamble, every heartbeat synchronized with the pulse of the operation itself. As teams rehearsed escape plans, memorized alternate routes, and prepared contingency strategies for every conceivable disaster, from equipment failure to capture, ensuring that even under the most extreme circumstances, the mission could continue. And as these preparations converged into a coordinated timetable, the viewer senses the magnitude of secrecy, precision, and risk, understanding that the mission Eisenhower had sought to hide was not merely a military engagement but a sprawling, multi-layered orchestration of espionage, deception, and courage, a demonstration of Allied ingenuity at its highest order. And as the countdown to execution tightened, the anticipation, suspense, and tension reached near unbearable levels, drawing the audience deeper into the unfolding drama, fully immersing them in the monumental effort, and preparing them for the moment when the mission would finally be unleashed, where every plan, every sacrifice, and every act of courage would collide with the chaos of war, leaving the viewer poised on the edge of their seat, craving the revelation of the daring operation that Eisenhower himself had once attempted to keep secret from the world. Asterisk. As the mission finally moved from meticulous preparation into action, the tension that had been building for weeks reached a near unbearable peak. And in the dead of night, under a moonless sky that offered both cover and foreboding, the first waves of operatives and aircrews slipped into position, each step deliberate, silent, and calculated. The faint rustle of boots against frost-hardened earth echoing through the empty streets of occupied towns, while reconnaissance planes traced shadowed paths high above enemy territory, capturing photographs that would guide every move, revealing roads, troop positions, and fortified installations. The faint hum of engines blending with the whispering wind and the occasional creak of distant structures. And as parachute teams leaped into the darkness, the narrative pulls the viewer into the heart of the operation, where every landing zone was meticulously selected, yet fraught with uncertainty, each tree, fence, or a rooftop a potential threat, as operatives navigated through frozen fields, bombed-out villages, and snow-laden forests. The ambient sounds of war-distant artillery, occasional gunfire, and low-flying patrol aircraft intertwined with the human heartbeat of those risking everything. And below, resistance contacts guided teams to safe houses, their knowledge of the terrain invaluable, every whispered instruction and subtle gesture laden with urgency, for discovery could mean immediate capture, torture, or death, while back at Allied command. Eisenhower and his aides monitored every radio transmission and reconnaissance report, faces tense as they triangulated positions, calculated risks, and adjusted contingencies in real time. The pulse of strategy colliding with the chaotic realities on the ground. And as saboteurs infiltrated critical infrastructure railways, supply depots, and communication hubs, the stakes escalated. Explosives were positioned, timing mechanisms set, and exit strategies mapped. Every action requiring absolute precision, nerves of steel, and the kind of courage that defied ordinary understanding. And above, fighter escorts maneuvered with calculated daring, their silhouettes barely visible against the night sky, engines muted to avoid detection, providing aerial overwatch while navigating the ever-present threat of flak, searchlights, and patrolling enemy aircraft. Each pilot balancing aggression and stealth in a deadly calculus, the narrative immersing the viewer in the simultaneous tension of multiple vantage points. From the frozen forests to the bombed city streets, from the skies where aircraft sliced through darkness to command rooms where Eisenhower calculated the mission's progress in real time, and as the operation unfolded, the viewer senses the precarious tightrope walked by every participant, every movement. Every decision weighted by the knowledge that a single misstep could unravel months of planning and result in catastrophic loss, while at the same time, unexpected obstacles, sudden patrols, shifting weather, equipment malfunctions, and civilian interference tested improvisation. Ingenuity and courage to extremes, and yet remarkably, through a combination of preparation, instinct, and relentless determination, teams adapted, rerouted, and executed, threading through enemy territory like ghosts, invisible yet consequential, shaping the trajectory of a mission whose scope, secrecy, and audacity seemed almost unimaginable. And as dawn approached, the first faint light revealed glimpses of terrain that had been marked only in encrypted maps. The subtle outlines of forests, rivers, and villages guiding weary operatives toward extraction points. While enemy forces scrambled in confusion, unaware of the magnitude, precision, and purpose of the operation that had just unfolded under their noses, and the suspense continues as viewers are drawn into the incredible human drama, witnessing acts of bravery, ingenuity, and relentless perseverance, moments of near disaster averted by split-second decisions, while every detail, from the silent tick of a watch to the flickering of a flashlight in the snow, carries the weight of life and death, as well as the broader consequences of the war effort. And yet the tension never fully dissipates. For even as teams achieve temporary success, the looming presence of the enemy, unpredictable variables, and the fragility of human endurance create an unrelenting pressure that drives the narrative forward, immersing the audience completely in the unfolding story, blending historical fact, cinematic tension, and psychological suspense, and leaving them breathless as the mission advances. Threading through the shadows of occupied Europe with unparalleled skill, precision, and courage, drawing them closer to the revelations, confrontations, and dramatic outcomes that await in the subsequent stages of the operation, where the hidden mission Eisenhower had sought to protect for decades will be revealed in ways both astonishing and historically transformative, ensuring that the audience remains riveted from the first heartbeat to the edge-of-the-seat climax that will ultimately unfold in the next points of this extraordinary saga as the mission reached its critical mid-phase. The meticulously orchestrated plan encountered complications no strategist could have fully anticipated, and the tension, already taut, escalated to levels that threatened to unravel every carefully laid contingency. For the Germans, ever vigilant and adaptive, had begun to implement countermeasures that were as cunning as they were lethal, shifting patrol routes, reinforcing key checkpoints, deploying decoy units and intercepting what intelligence they could, and in the darkened forests, bombed out villages, and narrow alleyways of occupied territory. Operatives and resistance contacts felt the weight of unseen eyes. The whisper of enemy movement, the sudden flash of headlights, all hinting that every step might lead to discovery, capture, or death. And as sabotage teams navigated through factory complexes and rail hubs, they encountered obstacles that required split-second improvisation, locked gates, increased guard rotations, unexpected patrols, and civilians coerced or manipulated into serving as informants, each scenario transforming the landscape into a living puzzle of threat and opportunity. While above, reconnaissance planes reported shifts in German anti-aircraft deployment, new flak concentrations, and suspicious activity around strategic installations, forcing commanders to adjust aerial routes, timing, and coordination in real time. The stakes magnified with every transmission, every decoded message, and every footstep. And yet, amid this chaos, the human element shone with remarkable courage, ingenuity, and adaptability, as operatives used every trick, every shadow, and every deception to maintain momentum, employing false trails, disguises, and carefully timed diversions, while their allies orchestrated supporting actions from hidden vantage points, setting fires, creating noise, and subtly manipulating enemy attention, all synchronized with a precision that belied the dangerous unpredictability of the environment. And yet the enemy's increasing vigilance added layers of psychological tension. For every unexpected encounter, every sudden patrol, every misheard command had the potential to compromise the operation entirely, turning hours of careful planning into a chaotic struggle where instinct, courage, and quick thinking determined survival. And in one dramatic instance, a key courier narrowly avoided capture when a German checkpoint was unexpectedly reinforced, requiring a daring diversion, a split-second decision, and the ability to remain calm under pressure that tested every ounce of training and resolve. The narrative immersing viewers fully in the palpable fear, suspense, and exhilaration of each maneuver. While back at command, Eisenhower and his closest aides tracked the mission's unfolding with grim anticipation. Every report of enemy activity or deviation from the plan forcing recalculations, reassessment of risk, and the implementation of immediate contingencies. The weight of responsibility pressing as heavily as the night's darkness over operatives in the field. And as sabotage and reconnaissance teams pressed deeper into the heart of occupied territories, instances of betrayal began to surface, revealing the treacherous landscape of war where not all allies could be trusted, and where civilians, coerced or collaborating under duress, introduced unplanned variables, increasing the psychological pressure on the teams who had to navigate both physical and human obstacles simultaneously, all while maintaining operational secrecy. And in one harrowing scene, an operative confronted a double agent, a fleeting moment where instinct, training, and courage collided in a tense negotiation, averting catastrophe but leaving a lingering uncertainty about who could truly be trusted. And as air support maneuvered through shifting skies to provide cover, unexpected mechanical issues with aircraft introduced further strain, requiring rapid adjustments, coordination, and improvisation, all while under the constant threat of detection, flak, and enemy interception. The tension heightened with each passing second, drawing the viewer into the visceral immediacy of the moment. Feeling the cold wind, the creaking of planes, the muted thrum of engines, and the synchronized heartbeat of those on the ground as they navigated a labyrinth of danger, deception, and high-stakes improvisation. And as the operation progressed, the cumulative effect of environmental hazards, enemy vigilance, mechanical strain, and human unpredictability compounded, creating a psychological landscape as treacherous as the physical one, where each decision could mean the difference between success and catastrophic failure, survival and death, and the narrative immerses the audience in this relentless pressure, highlighting acts of improvisation that saved lives, small victories that maintained operational momentum, and near disasters averted through instinct, courage, and extraordinary skill. All while the broader objective of the mission, the gathering of critical intelligence, the strategic disruption of enemy plans, and the safeguarding of Allied advantage remained the ever-present goal, driving each character, each action, and each heartbeat through the storm of uncertainty, danger, and betrayal. And by the end of this segment, the audience is fully engaged, sensing both the fragility and audacity of the mission, anticipating the climactic stages where the operation will collide with its most dangerous and revealing outcomes, ensuring the story maintains maximum suspense, tension, and cinematic immersion, leaving viewers poised for the next installment, where the consequences of these complications will ripple through the remaining phases of the daring, secret operation. As the mission advanced into its most perilous phase, the operatives and aircrews faced a level of danger so concentrated and immediate that every second felt stretched to an eternity, the shadows of occupied Europe twisting into a maze of potential death, while the faintest sound, the slightest movement, or a miscalculated step could transform a carefully orchestrated plan into instant catastrophe. and from the moment dawn threatened to pierce the darkened horizon, the risks intensified. German patrols shifted unpredictably. Observation posts scanned from rooftops and forests, and the threat of ambush or interception was omnipresent, forcing each operative to move with an exacting combination of speed, stealth, and precision. The rustle of boots on frost-hardened earth, the faint whisper of wind through skeletal trees, and the intermittent crackle of distant gunfire merging into a tense symphony of suspense that gripped both participant and viewer alike. While in the skies above, reconnaissance and support aircraft maneuvered with lethal grace, their engines muted against detection yet ready to respond with sudden bursts of force, navigating through anti-aircraft fire, shifting cloud cover, and unpredictable turbulence. Each pilot aware that a single miscalculation could send men plummeting into enemy territory or expose entire units to annihilation. And on the ground, sabotage teams found themselves confronting locked gates, hidden patrols, and sudden reinforcements, forcing improvisation with split-second decisions, tools of destruction and diversion deployed with a mix of practiced skill and instinct. Explosives placed with precise timing, signals sent to coordinating teams with a synchronization that seemed almost superhuman, all under the suffocating weight of knowledge that discovery meant immediate death, capture, or betrayal, while resistance contacts guided teams through snow-laden forests, bombed-out streets, and crumbling villages. Their knowledge, the difference between survival and disaster. Every step a negotiation with fate, and as enemy forces adjusted their own strategies, operatives faced ambushes, roadblocks, and miscommunications. Navigating through a web of lethal uncertainty, each moment a test of nerves, courage, and tactical brilliance. Yet even as close calls mounted, avoiding machine gun fire from hidden positions, slipping past armed checkpoints, and evading aerial pursuit, the teams pressed forward, driven by mission objectives, trust in one another, and the singular determination to survive. And the narrative immerses the viewer in every microsecond of tension, from the bead of sweat forming on a brow to the rapid pulse of anticipation as eyes scanned every shadow for danger. The narrative rhythm matching the heartbeat of both operative and audience. While moments of triumph narrowly escaping encirclement, successfully setting timed explosives, and securing vital intelligence provide temporary relief, yet the suspense never fully dissipates. For every success carries the potential for renewed risk, mechanical failures, shifting weather, and the unpredictable actions of the enemy keeping tension at a peak. And as ours stretch into a grueling test of endurance, the combined strain of physical exertion, mental acuity, and emotional pressure transforms the landscape into a crucible of heroism and ingenuity, highlighting extraordinary feats of adaptability, courage, and human resilience. While simultaneous aerial maneuvers add another layer of cinematic tension, fighter escorts darting through clouds, engaging flak, and executing coordinated diversions to shield operatives below. Their actions synchronize with almost telepathic precision, the consequences of each aerial decision rippling across the battlefield, affecting timing, escape routes, and the very survival of men on the ground. And through it all, the mission remains focused on its objectives. Whether gathering intelligence, disrupting enemy operations, or preparing the stage for future strategic advantage, every step, maneuver, and heartbeat serving as a testament to the skill, courage, and audacity of the Allied forces. And as the climax of this segment approaches, the tension tightens further, enemies closing in, environmental hazards escalating, mechanical strain threatening both aircraft and equipment, and the psychological pressure reaching a fever pitch. The audience drawn deep into the experience, feeling every nerve, every risk, every fleeting moment of near disaster, as if they themselves are part of this high-stakes operation, fully immersed in the drama, suspense, and heroism of a mission that seems almost impossibly daring. Leaving viewers on the edge of their seats, as the final phase of the mission unfolded, the operatives, pilots, and all supporting units entered a realm of danger so concentrated and immediate that every heartbeat, every breath, and every movement carried the weight of potential annihilation. In the skies above, once a theater of careful maneuvers and coordinated support, now seemed alive with unseen threats. Flak bursts ripping through clouds, tracer lines carving lethal paths, and enemy fighters executing unpredictable arcs with a precision that tested the limits of human reflexes. While below, ground teams navigated bombed-out streets, forests, and frozen rivers, every shadow potentially concealing a deadly adversary. Every distant sound a harbinger of sudden danger, and the psychological tension among the crews was mirrored in the viewer's experience. Each second, laden with suspense, as the narrative meticulously wove together mechanical peril, human courage, and strategic brilliance. And as the operatives pushed closer to the final objective, unexpected betrayals, miscommunications, and environmental hazards amplified the stakes, forcing improvisation, split-second decision-making, and reliance on every ounce of training, instinct, and ingenuity. The landscape a treacherous labyrinth where a single misstep could compromise the entire operation, yet, amidst this storm of chaos, moments of extraordinary heroism emerged, pilots performing maneuvers that defied the limits of physics, ground teams coordinating sabotages with breathtaking precision, and operatives escaping near capture through audacious feats of stealth and cunning, each action contributing to the overall momentum of a mission that seemed increasingly miraculous. While above, air support teams executed daring protective maneuvers, drawing enemy attention away from vulnerable ground units, weaving through flak and hostile fighters with a combination of skill, courage, and near-superhuman reflexes, every twist, climb, and dive synchronized with the unfolding events below, creating a cinematic ballet of danger, tension, and strategic genius. And yet the mission's climax introduced an entirely unforeseen complication, a sudden, concentrated enemy counterstrike that threatened to undo weeks of careful planning, the sky and ground erupting simultaneously in coordinated assault. Machine gun fire cutting through night shadows, flak detonating in deadly proximity, and the operatives forced into higher-risk improvisation to avoid annihilation. While instruments flickered, communications momentarily failed, and mechanical systems strained under the cumulative stress of extended engagement. The tension almost unbearable, and the narrative thrust pulled the viewer directly into the cockpit, the streets, and the forests, allowing them to feel every vibration, every shockwave, every near miss, as if their own lives were intertwined with the mission's outcome. And amidst this crescendo of suspense, human ingenuity and courage once again rose to the occasion. Crews improvising repairs mid-flight, ground teams creating diversions, and all units executing maneuvers that balanced risk with necessity. Every choice a razored negotiation with death. And as the final minutes approached, the mission reached its pinnacle, the critical objective secured. The enemy's response neutralized through a combination of daring, skill, and timing, yet the narrative tension remained at its peak. For the extraction and return demanded equal precision. The threat of mechanical failure, pursuit, or ambush never entirely dissipating, keeping both participants and viewers on edge. And as the final stretch of the operation unfolded, the synchronization of air and ground units, the calculated timing of maneuvers, and the bravery of individuals ensured survival. Their success a testament to meticulous planning, courage, and extraordinary resilience. While the environmental conditions, enemy counteractions, and mechanical stress provided a backdrop of relentless suspense, heightening every sensory detail, the roar of engines, the whistle of bullets, the tremor of detonating flak, the shifting shadows of forests and ruins, all coalescing into an immersive experience that drew the viewer into every second of peril, anticipation, and triumph. And in the climactic moments, as the last units crossed back into Allied-controlled territory, the audience is gripped by a mixture of awe, relief, and exhilaration, fully internalizing the improbability of survival against overwhelming odds. And the narrative resolves with maximum impact, highlighting the skill, audacity, and human endurance that defined the mission, leaving viewers with a profound understanding of the intricate ballet of courage, strategy, and chance that allowed one of World War II's most daring and secretive operations to succeed, ensuring they remain engaged, astonished, and emotionally invested from the opening suspenseful hook of point 1 to the breathtaking conclusion of point 6. A cinematic journey that is equal parts education, thrill, and homage to the bravery and ingenuity of the Allied forces. And the audience emerges with a lasting impression of historical significance, miraculous survival, and the human capacity to navigate unimaginable danger with courage, skill, and unwavering determination. A story that resonates long after the final word, leaving a sense of awe, suspense, and inspiration in equal measure.